Reminder everyone, we don't have to speak loudly because we haven't got any mics.
The mics are just for the broadcast.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Okay, welcome everybody. On behalf of the Glenelg Shire, I respectfully acknowledge the traditional lands and waters of the Gunditjmara, the Jali Jali and the Bowen Deck people and their respective cultural heritages. I acknowledge the elders past and present at today's gathering and through them to all Aboriginal people. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people provide an important contribution to Australia's cultural heritage and identity. We respectfully acknowledge the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community living throughout the Glenelg Shire and the contribution that they make to the Glenelg Shire's prosperity and well-being. I welcome members of the public to today's gathering in Merino and thank them for their attendance. And to those present in the gallery today, by attending the public meeting of the Council, you are consenting to your image, voice and comments being recorded and published. Council meetings may be live streamed and the Chief Executive Officer will enable a copy of the recording to the public. Are there any apologies for tonight's meeting?
Madam Mayor.
Neil? We have confirmation of the minutes of the meeting held Tuesday the 27th of February.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the minutes of the council meeting held on Tuesday 27 February 2024 as circulated be confirmed.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. No need to stand, councillors.
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Any comments, Councillor Wilson?
No comments.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Wilson, second by Councillor Carr. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. Can I move a motion to enable the Mayor to do a presentation, please?
Second the motion.
Thank you. Motion to make a presentation has been moved by Councillor Carr, second by Councillor Wilson. No one in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, first tonight I do have a presentation. Mr Ian Hamley from the Portland Dahlia Society came into the council chamber, the council offices recently to thank us for our contribution towards the Dahlia Festival. And Mr CEO, he really wanted to for you to express his appreciation to the staff that assisted him, not only in the promotions but also for the Civic Hall. It was a fantastic, I know that some other councillors actually attended, but what a wonderful festival it was for the Dahlia Society. Also tonight, councillors, I do have recently, I was unable to attend Merino Lions Club to award Councillor John Northcote. So, John, you might like to come and have this award, please. John was awarded the... You can come. Might be your birthday, but you can come. The Mervyn Jones Fellow Award for his services to the community. What an honour.
Well, thank you. 150 years of service.
150.
Look, John, you just stay there for a moment. Just hold it like that. Show it proudly. John served for over 40 years to the Merino Digby community. I think you started, it looks like here, when you played cricket for Tahara when you were about 5 by the looks of it, and then you were secretary for a million years, and then you joined the Fire Brigade when you were old enough. So what was that, when you were 14 or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And you held that position and the secretary and the treasurer for so many years. You joined the Caston Young Farmers. Gee, that would have been a hoot. Gosh, I can just imagine that, for many years. And you served as the district council president and the area president along the way and attended many state conferences over that time. You were a member of the Merino Digby P&A Society until its closure. John also served on the board of the Merino Consolidated School Council.
Well, that was pretty brief.
Oh, okay. Okay. You just shush for a minute. President of the Merino Bush Nursing Hospital and also on the board of the Coleraine Hospital after the Merino Hospital closed. The Victorian Farmers Federation also benefited from your active involvement, and you were secretary for 9 years for the local branch and still currently a member. And of course, John was elected to the old Shire of Glenelg and served as Shire President from 1989 to 1990. And then after amalgamation of the Portland, Casterton and Hayward councils in September 1994. John served then as Mayor on the Glenelg Shire in 2013-14 and then was on council from 2008 to 2016. And of course, as we know, in August last year, John was reappointed to the Glenelg Shire Council. John became an active member of the Merino Digby Lions in 1992, so 32 years ago, and served as president on 2 occasions and has held many positions from zone president to membership. John has been a valuable contributor to our club and esteemed member, and along with his wife Helen, has assisted in so many activities across the Merino Digby Lions Club for a number of years. Congratulations, John. Well done. Thank you. You want me to take that back?
You could almost retire on that, John.
Yes, I think he's still a member. You're still a member. You're still a member.
Yeah.
Yes, of course you are. That's why Helen was there doing us some afternoon tea today. Thank you, councillors, for your indulgence. Okay, if we're ready. 5.2, record of councillor briefings. There's a recommendation there on page 4, councillors.
Right, ask a question, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
Just the briefing record from the 12th of March, other items raised by councillors. There was a lengthy discussion about the location of the multi-purpose foreshore facility. Just wondering if that could be captured, please.
Yep. You could put that through as an amendment, please, Councillor Carr.
I will.
We'll
There's
move
rec-
it as part of the resolution.
There's a recommendation then, Councillor Carr. I'd suggest you put an amendment to the end of that to include...
So I move a recommendation that council receives the record of the councillor briefing held on the 27th of February 2024 and the amended version, and an amendment to the briefing that was held on the 12th of March 2024 to include the discussion that was held in relation to the location of the multi-purpose foreshore facility.
I'd like to second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Robin McDonald. Okay. Councillors clear on that? Any further discussion on that item? If not, I'll put it to the vote. Moved by Councillor Carr and second by Councillor Robin McDonald. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you, councillors. Declarations of conflict of interest on any items in tonight's agenda, please, councillors or staff. There appears to be none. Thank you. If you have anything, please note it to me immediately. We'll move on to 7.1, Councillor Activity Report from the 10th of February to the 12th of March 2024.
I'll move, Madam Mayor, the council notes the councillor activity reports for 10 February to 12 March 2024.
Thank you. We'll get councillors to talk to it. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Northcote. Councillor Martin, would you like to start and comment on your activities?
I can do, Madam Mayor,
Thank
certainly. There's numerous ones there, but Madam Mayor, but I'd just like to sort of cover off 2 of the more important ones, I believe. We've had a few of the community budget sessions, which I think most councillors have attended there. I just want to make a comment that it's been a little bit disappointing to see that some of those have been actually hijacked by some of the conspiracy theorists going around. It's a bit of a disappointment that the opportunity had been lost to some of those communities to be clear and concise of what they want to see in their towns. It was only last year when the people of Merino were very clear and concise. Several groups came to council. They were clear and concise on what they wanted. It was an upgrade of the barbecue area. And I believe council was able to accommodate that. And that was fantastic. That's what the process is there for. This year so far, we've sort of only had, for me, one clear message so far that stuck with me, and that's the movement in some way, shape or form of the old Hayward School building. Now, I know there are other important projects throughout the whole entire Shire. We've got infrastructure issues like the Hayward Pool, the Portland BMX track, the basketball stadium, Yarraman Park, just to name a few. However, we need community members to actually drive those. We need to add them to advocate for it. Because if they don't, that's not councillors' top of mind. And we're going to look at projects that the community wants at this particular point in time. So I would really highlight that we want the community to take these options to advocate for what they want out of those sessions. And that'll sort of segue nicely into the other one I wanted to talk about, Madam Mayor, and was that the Advanced Local Government Budget course that I did with Mark Davis online. He actually had a hand in the Local Government Act 2020. So it was really good to talk with Mark. So as part of that Local Government Act, it's councillors' legislative responsibility to continually do courses like this to ensure the ongoing financial viability of councils and take into account the financial management principles. There's a whole raft of things that we did go over, and I won't cover off them tonight, but it was really good to actually do those courses. One or two things I do want to point out was we did a 10-year financial plan, or the actual 10-year financial plan, and actually having that updated yearly. So we do actually have a 10-year financial plan. A service plan. So a service plan is looking at what services this Shire delivers, what's legislated, what's necessary, what's not necessary. Goes to the very heart of cost shifting, and that's something that maybe council needs to look at in the time to come. And that was probably the most important thing, I think, taking
like
that
an
time there. No,
Thank
it's all right.
you,
Just a couple of minutes.
Councillor
Thank you
Martin.
very much.
Councillor Robin McDonald, would you like to talk to your activity report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We're invited up to the volunteer event for the Wood, Wine and Roses group, and I was incredibly impressed by the fact that they actually were so organised that they had time to have the volunteer event before the actual event. I thought that is the epitome of organisation. The incredible strong community spirit was evident, and also the appreciative gestures that were shared that night towards the sponsors involved in their event. But the one thing for me that really stood out was the incredible new generation president that was coming through, and the nurturing that's happening from previous presidents and previous people involved in that event. A very young local boy who has stood up and, you know, leading that event and being an example to other young people in the town. It was just fantastic.
Thank you, Councillor Robin McDonald. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Look, again, the highlight, it was fantastic to get out and about to all of the budget sessions run in the community. I think the highlight for me over the month was the community events, Wood, Wine and Roses. Fantastic day, fantastic event, great crowd, well run. Volunteers night was awesome as well. And the Classics by the Bay down in Portland. I mean, that event just gets bigger and bigger, and it's just fantastic to see all those vehicles and all those people, you know, in the town of Portland for that day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Northcote, did you want to make comment?
Mine's reasonably brief, Madam Mayor, but I did sort of make mention the Narrawong, Dutton and Elstree Strategic Framework Plan Community Consultation and Feedback Meeting, and I mention again to the councillors and staff that people have been waiting five years on the Abalone farm, and I think they want some sort of closure, and I would hope that someday something will happen there. Thank you.
Of course, that's been sent to the State Government Planning
Yeah,
Minister, Councillor Northcote, so that will be up to the Minister to make that decision. Thank you, Councillor Northcote. I'll just briefly go across, and of course, it's been a busy month, as we always do, between community events, and as mentioned, the Wood Wine and Roses Festival, a fabulous day there, the Classic by the Bay and the Dahlia Festival. And of course, we did our budget sessions across all of our communities, which were well received, but I do pick up some of the points of Councillor Martin's. Then I went off to Melbourne with the Rural Councils Victoria, advocating to the Victorian Premier and ministers on projects of importance to the Glenelg Shire. And then, of course, we had the announcement by the Federal Minister, Chris Bowen, of, 1,700 jobs for Portland with the offshore wind project. But one of the most important committees that this council has developed is the CEO Recruitment Committee, and we've held a couple of meetings on that. So that is out now for advertisement with our recruitment agency. So there'll be further updates on that as we move through the recruitment process. Thank you, councillors. The motion was moved by Councillor Wilson and second by Councillor Northcote. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay. There's a notice of motion here, number 8, the notice of motion for Anzac Day. Councillor Wilson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move, 1, that Council conducts a reception for the Portland branch of the RSL as per previous years, in appreciation of the service to this community and presentation of the annual floral tribute to the fallen and the regiment flag of the guest speaker. 2, the Council holds a reception in the Portland municipal offices within the reception room, commencing immediately following the Anzac Day mid-morning service for the Portland branch of the RSL present at the gathering. And 3, the Council works with Victoria Police to provide the necessary road closures for the Anzac Day March and assist with any other matter to ensure the smooth running of the event. And 4, that in Casterton, Council will provide the use of the Casterton Town Hall to the Casterton RSL sub-branch on Anzac Day at no cost.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson.
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Alistair McDonald.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
as I'm required to do, I need to indicate that there is appropriate budget available and resources for this event.
Thank you, Mr. CEO.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I do appreciate the CEO advising us that that the budget is available. My notice of motion is probably one that may not have needed to come to this table, but because it seems that the council staff have probably got it well in tow. But the previous years we've had COVID and we've had the municipal offices were flooded out, and the system had all changed. So this motion is virtually just endorsing what we used to do previously, and it's an action that the council has been doing for a number of years, and it certainly is appreciative of those that attend, especially the guests of honour that come to the presentation. The amount of work that the RSL Portland do prior to the lead up with the floral arrangement is something that it is unique in Australia, from what I believe, and with the whole complete floral arrangement complex. But Madam Mayor, I just bring this forward for councillors' consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Alistair.
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to reiterate Councillor Wilson's words, and it is a very important role for council to recognise our veterans and their families and service people.
It certainly is. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to say a few words also. Firstly, thank you to Councillor Wilson for tabling this motion. The Portland branch of the RSL run a fantastic event. It is one of the best events that you'll attend on Anzac Day. And I also will be advocating that this becomes business as usual for this council going forward, and I 100% supporting the Portland RSL and the Casterton RSL and any other RSL within our shire to run these events, and it should just be business as usual going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. And, you know, I encourage councillors for all of our residents and visitors to come to Portland leading up to Anzac Day and take in those wonderful floral arrangements that are on the lawns in front of our municipal buildings there in Portland. It is absolutely spectacular, and the volunteer hours that go into it is just remarkable. So I look forward to it. Councillor Northcote?
If I may, Madam Mayor, I'll put in a plug for the Digby people. It's a wonderful event there. There's probably upwards of dawn service. Starting at 6:30.
Yes.
With bacon and eggs, etc. for breakfast. But I reckon there was 300 people there last year. And,
yes.
And it's a good time because you can sort of go and do other stuff, and I'm thinking about probably going down to Portland mid-morning myself. So.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you, Councillor Northcote. That's a really good point. And as per usual, I'm sure that Council, Mr CEO, will have all of the Anzac Day events on our profiles and on our website, so that all of our community members will know where those services will be and in those localities across the Shire. Right, the notice of motion has been moved by Councillor Wilson and second by Councillor Alistair McDonald. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. 8.2 is a notice of motion by Councillor Scott Martin in relation to a submission to the Australian Local Government Association for consideration at the National General Assembly. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, councillors. Bear with me, it is quite lengthy, but I will go through it.
That's right.
So the Glenelg Shire Council submits the following motion to the Australian Local Government Association for consideration at the National General Assembly in July 2024. This National General Assembly calls on the Australian Government to provide further funding for a carbon reduction future infrastructure and funding planning body. That one, the local government authorises that can reasonably demonstrate that projects in the national interest will have significant impact on their local government area shall be eligible to apply for funding from this body. That the CRFIFPB, I'll shorten that down, shall provide funding for positions to sit within a successful applicant local government authority to assess and plan for future community needs resulting from potential projects. Number 3, the CRFIFPB shall liaise with operators and relevant departments of state and federal government to provide oversight and coordination. That 4, CRFIFPB shall provide all funding necessary for the officer to perform their objectives. And 5, a monthly report is to be tabled at council meetings on the progress of the CRFIFPB officer's work for transparency and community feedback, councillors.
Thank you, Councillor Barton. Comments, questions, councillors?
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
I'll second it, sorry.
Oh.
Thank you, Councillor Alistair McDonald. Sorry, yes, CEO.
Can I make a number of comments about this? A couple of consequences of this motion is we would need to make sure that we include sufficient funding for a delegate to go to Canberra, because it's in the next financial year in July. And normally the delegate plus the CEO would go. Having been to the ALGA conference for the last 6 or 7 years, it was starting to lose its way, particularly during COVID, but the Labor government reintroduced last year as an ongoing thing the Australian Council of Local Governments, which in fact is members of the federal cabinet, and about 10 of them turned up last year for a day and a half, including the Prime Minister, and a dinner. And the delegate from each council is automatically a member of that function. And that day and a half was worthwhile going in itself. So I would highly recommend that council does attend the ALGA this year, even if you may not have done so in the past. And the budget ramifications really are some airfares and some accommodation and the conference costs, which probably amount to around $6,000 in total.
Thank you, CEO. Did you want to speak to this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I notice there's a few raised eyebrows in the gallery there, so I want to provide some clarification on what this is all about. So as the CEO mentioned, for a motion to be actually put on the national stage at the National General Assembly, it first needs to go through council, which is why it's going through here tonight. There's a lot of background information attached to this motion. I had about 10 pages. I cut it down to 4 because I was waffling on a little bit. But councillors, essentially, this is a cry for help from small regional councillors. And let me explain why. So not a week would go by where a company wasn't contacting council and expressing interest in a project that they were looking at undertaking within the Shire. So these are projects worth tens of billions of dollars, and they were the ones just that council knew about. Some had considerable planning, others were just in the implementation stage and needed further planning. Now, these are all relatively new industries with commercial and confidence attached to each project. So getting a clear picture of what resources this council needs was near on impossible. But one thing was clear. If several of these projects did get off the ground, we are faced with a very real possibility of having our population in the Shire here double or more over the next decade. Now, this council needs help to strategically plan our growth over the next couple of decades or even more. We all know what happened with the gold rush in the state. Well, it's now the green rush. And Glenelg Shire and the southwest is seen as ground zero. So we need the additional resources to have evidence-based plans to apply for state and federal government funding over the coming years. So if the population in Portland was to jump 10 or 20,000, how many more houses and land would we actually need? Schools, hospital capacity, freight routes, rail, supermarket, the list just goes on. It is mind-boggling. Is there growth for Hayward if options no longer are Portland? How about if there's projects near Merino here? How do we go in doubling the size of Merino overnight? These are all questions that we need to look at getting answered. It's a growing list of them, and that is why this motion needs to be put up, councillors, and why we need to ask for a body to provide funding for small local rural councils like ours.
Thank you, Councillor Martin.
Question.
Councillor
Madam Mayor.
Wilson.
Is there such a body at this time?
No, sorry, can I ask? Councillor Wilson, there wasn't. If I'm happy to change the name, that was just the name I particularly happened to come up with, cover what we're actually after. So I'm open to a different name, but no body at this time, Councillor Wilson.
A follow-up question to that, Madam Mayor. Councillor Martin moved that to provide further funding in his verbal, but it is written provide funding. So that was a slip and not an intentional an amendment to his motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, second point taken, Councillor Wilson. Thank you. Yep.
Councillor Martin, number 5. I mean, I think monthly reports to be tabled at council meetings. I think I think quarterly meetings would be sufficient. I think monthly meetings, the turnaround of getting those done would be, you would be writing reports all the time. So, I mean, I get the intent, and we discussed this, and we actually discussed this with Minister Bowen on the day that he was there, and the CEO and myself have had a discussion around this as well. But I think that, it's fairly prescriptive, and I think that, being prescriptive, that it comes back on a monthly report. I mean, we know how difficult it is to get a finance report, so I think quarterly reports to council, but that's neither here nor there at the end of the day. I mean, that's an operational issue.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Part of the NGA, so actually putting these motions up, they're wanting to foster transparency in the community.
Sure.
And that is why I looked at it monthly, but like you said, quarterly is probably more than adequate.
I think 4 reports a year, otherwise they would be writing reports all the time. But that's just a pick-up that, and I think that the intent is there, and it will be interesting to see how on a national basis this is when it's tabled to them. Councillors, any further questions in relation to the motion? Councillor Wilson.
Madam Mayor, the motion is at number 5, a monthly report is to be provided, and there's been discussion about a quarterly one. If Is there going to be change from the mover and the seconder to amend that to quarterly, or will it remain as a monthly report?
I'm happy to just remove the word monthly. I think report will then cover it, and then that would be adequate to do quarterly or bi-monthly or whatever the case may be.
Well, can I make a suggestion? I think that it's likely that there's a long way to go before this gets
Absolutely.
set in concrete. It's got to go through a whole process in Canberra. It's probably better just to replace the word monthly with regular. When and if the scheme is set up, that enables us, this council, to decide how often we want the report. So if the mover and seconder would agree to that, I think that would just make it.
Happy to move.
Happy to agree, Madam.
So a regular report. I think the intent is there, and I pick up Councillor Martin, the intent of the National General Assembly to have that transparency. But yeah, perhaps just a regular report. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any further questions?
Thank you, Madam
Councillor Wilson.
Mayor, and I thank Councillor Martin for bringing this motion to council. I see this as does he and Councillor McDonald, that it is an important area in which the federal government should be supporting local government, and I believe that this motion should be supported by councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Any further comments? Any questions? Councillor McDonald.
The reason I seconded it, Madam Mayor, the concept is real. We are in looking forward in the carbon reduction future, and I think of the Glenelg Shire is at the forefront of that by having someone that these businesses can go to and get the relevant information from planning and everything else that happens in the Shire, within the Shire. And it's really important that we do have someone in the organisation that is the go-to person.
Thank you, Councillor Alistair McDonald. Anything further? If not, the notice of motion has been tabled by Councillor Martin and second by Councillor Alistair McDonald. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Martin. We'll move on to item number 9 and the management reports. And 9.1 is the Strathdowney Drainage Scheme request to raise a special charge for 2024-25. There is a very long recommendation on page 13. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to move the recommendation that council, I'll move it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8.
Inclusive?
Inclusive on page 13.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. A seconder, Councillor Martin. Councillor Carr.
The Strathdowney Drainage Scheme, been around since the 1960s. Look, it obviously drains, well, it assists with drainage. There's 120 kilometres of it. 170 assessments and 52,000 hectares of land. So what council does is when it sends its rates out each year, it collects a special charge to those landowners on their behalf, and then they have their meetings and they decide how those funds are spent. I think they've currently got about 166,000. They'll collect another 16 when the rate notices go out this year. But it's very important to those landowners so that they don't get flooding and waterlogged, and they can continue to do what they need to do on that land within our Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Councillor Martin, do you want to make
Thank you,
any
Madam Mayor. I
comment?
was actually going to ask the officer to give that exact information, so Councillor Carr is doing well there. Also note in the preamble that they thank council for their cooperative work and speak very highly of council. So I thank those farmers that are part of that group for those kind comments.
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Councillors, this is only one of 2 of these special charge schemes across the state. It is a very odd scheme and it works very well. I mean, if we didn't have the drainage scheme, we wouldn't be collecting rates off of that land. So was it 52,000 hectares? It's a big area. Approximately, yes. Okay. Any further comments? No?
I was wondering, Madam Mayor, how many rated properties in our Shire would that include? Do we know?
170.
170.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Assessments.
Yes.
Assessments. So that
Yeah.
some properties might have 2 or 3 assessments on them,
Yeah.
but large properties. All right. Councillor Wilson.
Madam Mayor, I'll just reiterate the importance of this scheme and repeat your comments in that it's only one of two in the state. There used to be a lot of these schemes that way back when they all started, but none of them succeeded other than these two that are there, and the benefits that this has given over many years is greatly appreciated, not only by the landowners but by the community, because it's keeping land useful for farming instead of being swampland or land that's unable to be used. So $16,000 doesn't seem very much at all. If I get a block drain, it's going to cost me more than $16,000. So I think it's money well spent by this council.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. The recommendation was moved by Councillor Carr and seconded by Councillor Martin. Those in favour? Thank you, councillors. We'll move on to 9.2, which is on page 16, is the Glenelg Shire Finance Report for February 2024. There is a recommendation there, councillors.
Can we get an update first, please, Madam Mayor?
Oh, okay. Who's doing? That's a good thing. Who's doing an update? No.
Well, either Matt or Beck. What sort of thing do you want in the update?
just-
Apart from it's not written.
Well, we'll just ask questions.
Perhaps ask questions is the best.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and Beck's here to help with the answers.
Yes. All right.
All right, I'm happy to move the recommendation.
You're happy to remove the recommendation.
The council receives the financial report for the period ending February 2024.
Thank you. Seconder,
I'll second that.
Councillor Robin McDonald. Any questions, councillors? Or any observations?
Oh, question. Madam Mayor, on the statement of capital works, is there any commentary? Year to date, we've spent 6.3 million and we're forecasting 33.6 million. Can we have a comment on that and as to where we believe we'll end up by the end of this year, financial year?
Probably for Director Husband.
Mr. Husband?
I don't have the numbers in front of me, Mayor. Beg your pardon.
I think the gist of the question is how are you going to get from the current expenditure to the forecast expenditure in capital works?
But there's a number of outstanding projects that we are working through at the moment. Some of those quite considerable value across the Shire, particularly roadworks. That's a big chunk of that. But we have been forecasting, reforecasting those figures over the previous months, and we are confident that we'll hit that value.
Any further questions, Councillor Carr?
Yes, on the comprehensive income statement, we're waiting on some funding, roads to recovery funding. Do we have any visibility on when that may come in?
We actually now have that funding. It's come in the last week. Yeah, last week. So
Fantastic.
since the report was written, it's come in.
Fantastic update.
Councillor Wilson?
I was just going, yeah.
Yay, it's coming, yeah, yes. All right, that'll show up in the end of March report.
I've just got a couple.
Councillor
Madam
Northcote.
Mayor, on the comprehensive income statement, I just have an issue. Increased income from jet fuel. This is jet fuel for the firefighting at the airport. How do we sort of claim that as income? I mean, it's money in and money out, and it's. I wonder that it should be just classed as income at all.
Well, we have a corresponding expenditure which goes against it, as we do with all those income items. So we count it twice, in and out.
Yeah. So. And the other one is the fire on page 3 of the variance analysis. The fire services levy is pretty much the same, I suppose.
Exactly the same. We're required to collect that on behalf of the government, but the way our accounting system has to work is that we have to account income, and then you'll find that it goes out in a big chunk to the state government.
Do we get a little bit for our trouble there?
Administration? No. It's called cost shifting, Councillor North.
And you'll also,
That's
well,
me.
I probably don't need to remind you that they don't get bound by the rate cap. They put it up by significantly more than that each year.
I think it went up by about 11%
that's right.
this last financial year, the fire services levy.
Just as a milking cow for the not CFMEU, fire UFU, I suppose.
Well, that might be a little unfair. I suspect that most of it ends up with the insurance companies.
Yeah. Any further questions on the finance report for the end of February 2024? If not, it's been moved by Councillor Carr and second by Councillor Robin McDonald. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you, councillors, and thank you to the staff. We're up to urgent business.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I just have one thing. In view of ongoing community feedback, may I propose a motion as urgent business requesting Council pause the process on the multipurpose foreshore building to fully understand alternative locations and ensure community feedback is fully considered?
Councillor Robin McDonald, I can't accept that be put to the meeting. We have a motion. Council already has a motion that it passed October 2023 in relation to that particular item. Thank you.
No,
Anything
there's no
further?
items of further business.
No, thank you.
And I would remind people that if they do want items of urgent business, they're due in by midday on the day of the council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Questions taken on notice. We do have some questions. Mr. Matthew Jarlett is here from Portland tonight. Thank you for your questions, Mr. Jarlett. At council meeting on the 25th of February 2020, the council voted to introduce a compulsory food organics and garden organics curbside collection service within the Glenelg Shire. I understand that COVID did play a part in slowing down this process, but lockdowns are a thing of the past. Could you please explain when this Shire will be implementing this service, seeing as how it was voted on 4 years ago? I'm going to direct that question to Mr. Stuart Husband, Director of Infrastructure Services. Thank you, Mr. Husband.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Mr. Jarrett. Council is still considering the various options for FOGO, which include exploring potential reductions in capital costs to deploy bins and reducing haulage costs, which are likely to be significant. These considerations incorporate environmental and circular economy aspects and what would be sustainable into the future. Council is looking for the most efficient method for delivering FOGO, as costs involved would be passed on to ratepayers through a waste levy.
Thank you, Mr. Husband. Second question. On page 16 of this month's council agenda, it states that the cost to ratepayers for the 2 municipal monitors, which were with us for 3 months, was $100,000. Do you feel that this was a worthwhile exercise, taking into account what came out of it and the expense? I'll ask the Acting Director of Corporate Services, Mr. Matthew Berry, to answer that. Thank you, Mr. Berry.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, Council has allocated a budget of $100,000 towards the council monitors, and to date $66,881.68 has been paid. The Minister for Local Government has yet to sign or release the report of that to Council, so until such time, no further can be provided in response to your question.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. The third question is, there has been some concern in the community that there may have been some financial irregularities with the Alexander Park construction project that was so severe that one or more individuals no longer employed by this council, and that the police are investigating this matter. Can you please confirm or deny these concerns? I'll ask the Director of Infrastructure Services, Mr. Husband. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Mr. Jarrett. Council is not aware of any financial irregularities with the Alexandra Park project. As per your question at the council meeting on the 22nd of August 2023, and our response to you on the 24th of August 2023, the final cost of the project was forecast at that time to be $7.3 million. The actual was actually just under $7.4 million. Council does not comment on police investigations.
Thank you, Mr. Husband. Mr. Gary Everett from Hayward is with us this evening. Thank you for your questions, Gary. Is the delegation by Professor James Dunbar, Bet Jewett and myself regarding 5.5 million hectare 3D seismic blasting survey on the agenda for the council meeting on the 9th of April 2024? If not, why not? No, thank you. Mr. Husband, are you able to answer this question for me? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Mr. Everett. Council has not received any such request to present to councillors at a briefing. Such requests are considered on their relevance to council and programmed when time allows. There is no time available in April.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. As stated last year, approximately $3.2 million was a one-off payment in regard to the Glenelg Shire changing back its differential rating system that has allowed for in the 2024-25 budget. If not, why not? Mr. Berry, do you want to please answer this question? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the 2024-25 council budget is to be set based on a differential rating system, and that's anticipated to be out for public consultation in May 2024. So in this, council's income and expenditures are then budgeted accordingly to operational costs and capital projects. If there's any significant reduction in income, would result in a substantial financial challenge where council would be unable to maintain current services and facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Berry. And the third question will be, what checks and accountability has there been put in place to keep further Glenelg Shire projects in budget? Are councillors told fully the project costs before they vote on projects? What is an acceptable percentage in dollar forms for projects to go over budget before being questioned? Mr. Husband.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Mr. Everett. Council is provided with detailed reports, including tender evaluation before major projects are awarded via council meetings. The project budget is based on the contract value and any contingency which may vary depending on the project risk. We do have triggers to inform councillors when budgets are forecast to go over. These triggers are based on delegations and include variations to contract after award.
Sorry, no. Final question comes from, councillors would have been circulated from Jude Francis from Merino, who sent an email around. Could council please look into the petition for asphalt in Campbell Street in Merino? There's our internal request number there. The petition is placed in front of council at by 12 residents of Campbell Street, Merino. Mr. Husband, thank you for taking the time to speak to this gentleman this evening when we had our community forum, but I thought it would be still good to just for you to verbalise your answer to him so that all councillors were aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. To Mr. Francis' question, Campbell Street Merino is classified as an urban general access road, is regularly inspected and is maintained to the standards set out in our road management plan. An estimate to seal Campbell Street is in the order of $450,000 to $600,000, depending on the final design. Beyond being maintained as an unsealed road, it is not currently a priority for the Shire at this level of expenditure.
Thank you, Mr. Husband. Councillors, that's the last of our questions for this evening. There are no confidential reports, and
Madam Mayor,
Councillor Wilson.
if you'll indulge, I was just wondering whether you would were going to acknowledge the Lions Club for hosting us today and thank
Would you
them
like
and
to
the
put in a
community.
vote of thanks to the Lions Club, Councillor Wilson? Go for it.
No, you just sorry. I was just making sure that you weren't closing the meeting. Madam Mayor, because it's not on the agenda.
No, it's not.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Look, I thank all members for being here this evening. I thank the staff and CEO. We do like to get out and about to our communities. We did open up a forum this afternoon here in Merino, and I thank those community members for making the time to come and talk with councillors. We also had the Merino Digby Lions Club that did a great spread for us and for the community members that were there. And of course, before I close, let's not forget that Councillor John Northcote is his birthday today, and he's diligently here at the table with us again tonight. So happy birthday to you, John. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance here tonight, and thank you, councillors and staff and CEO. Thank you very much. Close the meeting.